What's up, fellas? So this week, I'm a little bit tempted to make fun of this card. It does kind of feel a little bit like one of those cards where, the main event's a bit random and like you just got a couple like edge of the rankings fighters dabbled in there, and you gotta just kind of struggle your way through it because there might be some crazy knockouts here and there, and we love the sport. But actually, bro, this week, I'm gonna tell you, I got a really good feeling about this main event. Like I don't know why. We'll get into it later, but I just have a really good feeling about it. All right, let's get this let's get this party started. I'm gonna go with Ariane Carnelossi by round three TKO. Um, I just like this girl. I feel like, she's coming off one loss, but I feel like both of these fighters are kind of on and off, like a lot of women's fighters are. And bro, Carnelossi kind of looks like a women's Diego Lopez. I kind of fuck with that shit, bro. So we're gonna go with her by round three TKO. Moving up, I like Jaisla Chavez, bro. She had a nasty Dana White's Contender Series fight with Sofia Montenegro. She low-key hadn't fought anyone until that fight. In Dana White's Contender Series, she fought a bunch of bums before that Dana White's Contender Series fight, but she was able to get the decision, split decision, and I just think she's got that dog in her. We saw Eunice Dubin get knocked out recently. She did have a nasty KO on Dana White's Contender Series over that big ass girl that kind of looks like Kayla Harrison. But coming off that knockout loss, I'm not sure exactly who it was against. Um, but she probably doesn't have the best durability coming off that. I think Chavez has shown her ability to dig in fights and throw back after she's been hurt. I think she's gonna take this by round two KO. Yes. Uh, Now I'm a bit conflicted about this next fight. I could really see this going either way. Joe Anderson Brito has this kind of like blockhead boxing where he just kind of dogs at you. Um, Kind of just swings threes and fours. It's pretty interesting to watch. He is a fun fighter. Pretty classic Brazilian. He actually has some pretty good takedowns overall, which is really interesting. But in this matchup, because Levitt's also a really high quality wrestler. Um, and I almost feel like Brito might be able to get a submission here, but I do ultimately feel like Levitt will be able to get out of any submissions and be able to control Brito for the majority of his this fight. We saw Pat Sabatini control Joe Anderson Brito not too long ago. Jordan Levitt has that quality of grappling as well, I believe, but he's just way bigger. I think the size difference is gonna be huge in this fight. I'm gonna go with Jordan Levitt by round three sub. All right, this fight I don't really care about. Um, let's just talk about how interesting of a person Processo Cachoeira looks like. She kind of looks like Bigfoot Silva, the old UFC heavyweight. Um, as a chick, I'm sure someone said that before, but she also kind of looks like that mixed in with Yuri Prochazka with his haircut. It's just kind of tripping me out, man. I think she's probably gonna win this one. They've got this one at Pick'em odds because both their records are pretty bad. If you want to take a look, there it is. Both pretty bad records. I'm gonna go with Cachoeira by decision. Up the card. Bruno Silva, bro. I feel like this guy just fights tooth and nail for this ranking. This guy's not gonna give up this fucking ranking, bro. Like I feel like, bro, if Edgar Shadros has this guy hurt in like the third round, like off some spinning shit, Bruno Silva might just pull out a knife and be like, "Bro, you're not taking this fucking ranking game away from me." I just feel like I can't see this guy not in the rankings. The day that I don't see this guy in the flyweight rankings is gonna be a really sad day. I might have to, like really just sit on the porch. I hope I have a rocking chair at that point so I can just rock back and forth and be like, man, how great was the flyweight division when Bruno Silva was ranked 14th or 15th in division, you know? It was great back in the day. I think Bruno Silva is gonna put on a low-key masterclass here. I think he's gonna be able to outstrike Shiras for most of the rounds and then be able to get a couple takedowns here and there. Probably in the second round, I think he's going to be able to control him a good amount. Um, I also think he's going to be able to outbox him. He's got some pretty tight boxing despite his ability to get caught here and there. Um, I think he's going to win a decision here. Marcus McGee, bro, I really wish he would have been able to fight Jacob Wicklacz in this one, because I feel like he would have pimped Jacob Wicklacz. I feel like people are overrating the fuck out of Jacob Wicklacz for no reason. Yes, he fluked a couple people. Yes, he fucking robbed Patchy Mix. No, he's not a good bantamweight prospect. We'll get into a good bantamweight prospect later in the video. My boy Santiago Luna. But Marcus McGee is a guy who really could be in the edge of the bantamweight rankings. Again, he was ranked the end of 2024, I believe, before his fight with Peter Yan. Um, and his fight with Peter Yan, he did not do very bad. He looked pretty good overall. Like he did lose, but his striking looked pretty high level, man. And I feel like he's just gonna be able to pack up John Yanis. I think he's gonna be able to get a round one KO here. He's got powerful boxing for this division. Uh, he's also old as shit. He got that like he's one of those guys who's just got unk strength. You know, he's got unk strength. I wouldn't want to spar this dude in my gym because I feel like I'd look at him and be like, all right, this dude looks pretty good, and then he would just beat my ass. You know? He definitely kept that athleticism, if not gotten more athletic as time has gone on, I feel like. I'd like to have seen if this guy had fought at like 25, how that would have looked, but I digress. Next fight, we have the can of all cans, Matt Schnell against Alessandro Costa. Now that's disrespectful, but it really is true. If I had to fight a UFC fighter who is a man, it would be Matt Schnell. This dude is a lightweight, or sorry, not a lightweight. He's a flyweight, chinny as shit. He did have that dope ass win against Sumadarji, but now that he's like had as many miles on his career as he's had, he is really one of those guys where if you just touch him properly on the chin, it's probably going to be over. Um, so Alessandro Costa, like he's more of a grappler, really. He does a good job with the grappling, but I think he's gonna be able to find a KO here. It doesn't take too much to KO Matt Schnell. I think he's gonna get a round two KO. Yes, sir. All right. Now, part of me does kind of want to pick Junior Tafa. Don't get me wrong, but Ivo Baranowski is really hard to pick against here. He's a bit of a blockhead. He doesn't really like strategize much. I don't think this guy is ever really thinking about his game plan going into the fight. I think he's just kind of thinking, I'm gonna go try to take that dude's head off," which was like, obviously that's a lot of dudes' game plan to a certain degree. But like, I feel like for most people, you know, when they're trying to execute that game plan, they're more like, "Oh, I'm gonna try to take his head off. Let me see what he's doing. Oh, he's throwing that jab too much. Let me slip. Oh, he's about to shoot that takedown. You know, they're strategizing. How am I gonna do that? You know, that's what they want to do, but they're more focused on the how. This dude is genuinely just, I'm gonna fucking go for the big shot as soon as possible and over. And I love it. And Junior Tough is a guy who's gonna engage in that kind of thing. And yes, he is a good kicks boxer, and his weakness is the grappling, not really the striking. But I feel like this is light heavyweight. Anyone can get knocked out, and I think Junior Tough is gonna get knocked out in the first round in this one. I think Iwo Baranowski has got all the tools. I think he's gonna connect a big one. This is gonna be an absolute amazing first round. I am not gonna leave my seat when I'm watching this. I can't go get a drink. I can't go leave to go get a bathroom break. I gotta be eyes glued on this fight the moment Bruce Buffer stops yapping. So I'm really excited for this one. Next up, I love Santiago Luna, bruh. This dude is a great prospect, bro. I did some extra research on this guy. Before today, I was more familiar with his work in the UFC. He's shown off some really good striking, really good boxing. He's got good volume and really good shot selection. I really like the way he integrates combos that have full power on every single one of the shots so that you feel like any shot that lands properly could cause a knockout. And what I didn't realize about this guy is he's got a great background in wrestling. Um, he won a lot of his early fights by submission and with big like judo throws that are really interesting to watch. He's got a really cool wrestling style, honestly. And I feel like that coupled with his great power and just like that archetype of a wrestler turned striker who has amazing power, think Kamaru Usman, think Ilia Topuria. I'm just really excited about Santiago Luna. And it's early, he's only 21 years old, but something tells me he's already ready for this Bryce Mitchell test, bro. Something tells me, man. I think he's gonna be able to stuff these takedowns, maybe even end up on top in a moment by himself. Not by himself, himself. But I think this is a really good fight. I'm really excited. I think Luna's gonna be able to find a KO. I was gonna pick him that decision, but honestly, I feel like he might dominate this fight. Like I could see him winning a decision 30-27 or winning by knockout in the third round. I'm ultimately gonna pick him by third round knockout. Forestian versus Tom Nolan. Now Tom Nolan's pretty good. He's showcased some really nice long range weapons in some of his tape. He's a really interesting guy to watch here and there. Watch his highlights. Use a lot of tools, kind of like Feresiam. Uses a lot of tools, but he's more of a striker, Tom Nolan, where Feresiam has integrated a lot more grappling and clinch work into his game. But Tom Nolan low-key got chinned by Nicholas Mata, and I just don't know how to feel about that. And like, yes, for us, Ziam got submitted by Terrence Mitchell, but like that was very early into his career. And there's a difference between getting chinned, especially as a guy like, bro, for some reason, if I see a really tall fighter in like these lower divisions get chinned, I get really worried about him. I don't know why, but like if you're like a thin fighter and you get chinned bad, I get hella worried about you. And for Tom Nolan, I just feel like for SCM's gonna be able to bank him. Find a really nice shot, maybe down the middle, maybe an elbow like his last fight, who knows. But I feel like he's gonna be able to find a finish here. Uh Fresiam's really high level, man. He's a fucking hardcore as the light, bro. If your favorite friend watches UFC, there's a chance he's like, yeah, man, Fresiam is the next big thing. And I'm guilty of this. I really like this guy. I kind of realized if I saw this dude lose, I would feel like such an idiot. So I'm really rooting for this guy. I got Fresiam by round two TKO, baby. Round two TKO. Now, when this fight first got announced, this Edmund Shablazian versus Vern Allen fight, for some reason I did want to pick Edmund Shablazian. I went to UFC 320, so I'm kind of biased towards all the fighters that went there and made that such a great experience because, man, going to UFC 320, seeing Pereira knock out Ankalaev and all the rest of the fights on that card was awesome. I remember I was getting some food. I look up, I'm watching the Edmund Shablazian fight on the TV. He gets a knockout. I'm like, hell yeah, let me get this popcorn, bro. Let me get my seat. Unfortunately though, watching the tape, man, looking at, his record, losses to like Gerald Meerschaert, it's tough to pick this guy. If you look at that tape, in those fights, like he always hurts the guy in the first round, yes. Uh there always is at least one moment where it kind of looks like the ref could stop the fight. But once you get in the second round, he kind of struggles to lock back in. You see his sprawl start to slow down, and he's just not as much of a focused fighter in the later rounds. And his grappling really is exploitable. And I don't feel like in the current run that he's on, his grappling has really been tested to a really high level. He hasn't really fought a really like high level wrestler where I can say like, all right, now he's figured out the grappling. So I feel like Brendan Allen is going to be able to get a submission eventually on in this fight. I could see him low key getting bombed in the first round. I'm like, maybe I should have picked Shablazian, but Shablazian. Um, um, I think Brendan Allen's gonna win this. I think he's gonna get. I don't know why Brendan Allen's smiling at me like that, bro. He's smiling at me with that fucking Brazil flag in the corner. Like, bro, you started, you were USA, then you were Canada, and now you're Brazil. What country are you from, dog? But I'm gonna go Brendan Allen round two sub. He might get boomed, but he'll figure it out. All right, moving on to the main event. I'm really excited about this. For some reason, I think this fight is going to be an absolute war. I think Bonfim might be able to knock down Belal at some point. I could see him hurting him with like a knee or maybe a big right hand. Um, Bonfim is a very imposing welterweight. He was knocked out a little while ago in his career, but I think for some reason he's going to be able to take a lot of damage in this fight. We've seen Belal take a lot of damage, and I mean he's been knocked out before by Vicente Luque. I don't think being knocked out early on in your career exactly means that you're done and like you can't have a war later on. I think this fight is going to be very back and forth. I expect Belal to get like flash knocked out by something at some point and then get back. He loves getting his get back, bro. One thing about Belal, say what you want about Belal. Once he gets hurt, like I know if I was training with Belal, like if I hit this dude with a nice shot, he's about to hit me with a five piece. And I love that about this fighter. It's really fun to see. It makes for a really interesting fight. If it's more involved in the striking than the grappling, and I both these fighters are really good in the grappling. Like Bonfim has a bunch of submissions on his resume. That's honestly how he got here. In the Wonder Boy fight, maybe he shouldn't have won that fight. It's kind of debatable, but he won that fight by grappling, and a lot of his fights before that, he won by submission. I don't really see this fight taking place on the ground at all. I think it's going to take place pretty much entirely on the feet. And I think this is going to be a bloodbath. Like, I think they're both going to be cut. I think Bilal's going to be able to cut Bonfim with like either just repeated boxing or an elbow at some point. Um, and I think Bilal is going to be able to win. It might be like a split decision. It might be unanimous, but I think it's gonna be 48-47, a really close fight where both these fighters get a lot of respect. Um, and I don't think Bonfim's stock is gonna drop much after this, and I think Bilal's isn't gonna rise much either. But I think this is gonna be a really interesting fight for the fans to watch. I really hope I'm not wrong, but I hope everyone's excited for UFC White House next week. I know I am. Uh, Excited to see Ilya Taporia and Alex Pereira back in the octagon. That's gonna be sweet. And the political stuff's kind of annoying. Definitely gonna piss me off for sure, but I'm gonna do my best to get past it and focus on just the fights, because that's all I really care about, you know? Good night, ladies and gentlemen.